Right then, let's dive straight in. We're all just bombarded with information daily, aren't we? It can feel, well, pretty overwhelming.
Totally. Just a constant stream.
So for this deep dive, we've basically gone through a big stack of Nigerian news headlines from yesterday, May 16th, 2025, plus a few of those did you know facts you sometimes see.
Little interesting bits on the side.
Exactly. Think of this as maybe your shortcut to getting a real handle on what's actually happening.
Yeah, and what immediately jumps out is just the sheer range of stuff covered in one single day.
It's a lot.
Really shows how much is going on in Nigeria right now.
Absolutely. So our mission here really is to cut through all that noise, pull out what seems significant, the main developments.
Give you some context.
Yeah, give you a clear, concise understanding of the key stories, point out some connections you might miss otherwise.
Okay, sounds good. Given how much there is, maybe starting with the economy makes the most sense.
Agreed. That seems like a logical place. And the first thing that jumps out is this report that Nigeria's inflation rate has dropped, down to 23.7%.
Right.
Now, on the face of it, that sounds like, good news, welcome news. But the real question is, what does that actually mean for everyday Nigerians, for the economy overall?
And this is where it gets really interesting, because while the national average dropped, other headlines tell a different story.
Ah.
Yeah, inflation in Abuja and I think 10 other states is apparently surging, above 30%.
Wow. Okay, so a real split then.
Exactly, which immediately makes you ask, what's driving these differences? Are there specific regional things happening? Why are prices soaring in some places if the national picture is improving?
That disparity is definitely something worth keeping an eye on.
For sure.
Okay, staying with the economy, NELFLD, that's the National Education Loan Fund.
The student loan program, yeah.
It seems they're considering extending loans to students in private universities now. What are the potential implications there?
Well, thinking about access to higher education, it could be pretty significant.
Right.
It might, open doors for students who want that private university option, but just can't afford it.
Makes sense.
But you also have to think about the other side, the sustainability of the loan fund itself, maybe. And could it lead to, more student debt down the line?
Yeah. Definitely complex, big potential impact, but lots of questions too.
Exactly.
Okay, also on the economic front, we saw that BUA and Dangote Cement, they're committing to lower prices for government projects.
Yeah, that caught my eye too.
Feels like that could genuinely help with infrastructure development.
It could. And it's interesting to think about why. There was a mention, I think, about the BUA chairman backing Tinubu against food hoarding.
Okay.
So it might suggest, some key private sector players aligning with the government's push for stability. Good for their image too, perhaps,
Sure.
and lower cement prices. Yeah, that could definitely speed up projects.
Yeah.
Which helps the economy.
That link to the food hoarding fight is interesting, shows how these things connect. Now, shifting slightly, Access Holdings. Their shareholders approved a huge dividend, $125 billion.
Wow.
What does that tell us about the financial sector's health, maybe?
Well, it certainly points to profitability and confidence at Access Holdings itself. Good for them and their investors.
Yeah.
How much it reflects the entire Nigerian economy is maybe less direct. It's more a snapshot of success in one major institution.
Got it. Okay. Then there's this Naira for crude deal mentioned. But it seems modular refineries, those smaller ones, are excluded. What's the potential impact of leaving them out?
That does raise questions, doesn't it, about the overall energy strategy?
Yeah.
Excluding the modular guys might slow down their growth, maybe limit how much the whole thing boosts local refining, especially at that smaller scale.
So it could suggest a focus on the bigger players?
Possibly. Prioritizing the established oil companies, perhaps. That's something to watch.
Interesting. Okay, here's a fact that might surprise some people. Nigeria is apparently ranked 3rd in Africa for hotel development.
Oh, really? That's quite high.
Isn't it? Not something you hear about every day.
No, but it's a positive signal, right?
Yeah.
Activity in hospitality, tourism suggests investment, growth, jobs, helps diversify the economy, maybe.
Good point. On a less positive note, Customs is warning about false declarations, duty evasion.
Ah, the usual challenges.
Seems like an ongoing battle for, economic integrity.
Absolutely. It just highlights that constant need for strong enforcement, fair trade, government revenue.
Right.
It all gets undermined otherwise.
Yeah. And the federal government, the FTG, approved new procurement thresholds for MDAs, ministries, departments, agencies.
Right.
In simple terms, what does that mean for government spending?
Basically, these set the rules for how much government bodies can spend without needing higher approval.
Okay.
Adjusting them can speed up small purchases, potentially making things more efficient, but it could also affect oversight on the big ticket items. So there's a risk balance there.
Right. Efficiency versus potential mismanagement.
Exactly.
And finally, on the economy, a note that Africa as a whole needs a massive $600 billion a year for energy growth.
Huge number.
How does Nigeria, being a major energy player, fit into that picture?
Well, if you connect it back to the Naira for crude deal, the refinery discussions, it just underlines the sheer scale of investment needed.
Yeah.
Nigeria will absolutely need to attract serious capital to meet its own needs and contribute to that wider African energy growth.
Okay, let's pivot now. Politics and governance. Quite a lot here, too.
Usually is.
First up, a potential logistical headache. An overlap reported between the WAEC exams and the UTME results.
Oh, dear.
Sounds incredibly stressful for students, for parents.
It really does. It sort of points to coordination issues, doesn't it, within the education system? They need better planning between these exam bodies.
Yeah.
Avoid putting kids under that much pressure.
Definitely. Now, on a more serious note, the justice system, ECOWAS Court.
Yes.
They've ordered Nigeria to release a man detained for 16 years without trial.
16 years.
Wow.
That really throws a spotlight on human rights issues, due process.
That's a hugely significant ruling. Speaks volumes about fundamental justice, rule of law. Holding someone that long without trial is, well, it's a grave concern. And the ECOWAS Court stepping in shows why those regional bodies are so important for upholding rights.
Good point. Regionally, President Tinubu met the Malian envoy, emphasized West Africa being stronger together.
We hear that often.
What's the context here?
Well, given all the instability, the security challenges across West Africa right now,
True.
that message of unity, of collaboration, it's particularly relevant. It really highlights the need for countries to work together on these shared threats.
Makes sense. Back home, division in the National Assembly over a compulsory voting bill.
That debate.
Yeah, touches on ideas of civic duty, democratic participation.
Absolutely. Raises fundamental questions. Those for it probably say, higher turnout, more representative democracy.
But opponents will raise concerns about individual freedom, forcing people to vote. It's a classic dilemma.
Yeah. Also in the National Assembly, they're focusing on making sure only registered architects work on government projects.
Quality control.
And the speaker commented on that whole BSc-HND dichotomy, the university versus polytechnic graduate status thing, saying it undermines HND holders.
Right. Two linked issues there, really.
How so?
Well, the architect focus is about professional standards, safety in building. The speaker's comment on BSc-HND tackles that long-running debate about equal recognition, equal opportunity in the job market for graduates from both routes.
Got it. The Senate is also pushing Tinubu to sign a forced security bill, and they want tougher penalties for oil theft and terrorism.
All linked to major security worries.
Clearly. Banditry, the economic hit from oil theft.
Exactly. The hope is stronger laws, stiffer penalties might actually deter some of this.
We'll see. And related to security, a 20-member panel is being set up to organize a security summit.
Okay, so a formal government effort to find solutions.
Seems like it.
Shows they're taking it seriously, trying to bring experts and stakeholders together. Its effectiveness, well, it depends on who's on the panel and what concrete actions come out of it.
True. On the economic side again, but policy-driven. The local automobile industry patronage bill is moving forward.
Supporting made in Nigeria cars.
Yeah, seems like a push to grow domestic manufacturing.
Probably aims to encourage people to buy local, maybe through incentives, maybe government buying policies, boost the industry, create jobs, rely less on imports. It's a standard strategy, really.
Right. Now, the House of Reps seems pretty concerned about the high failure rate in the recent UTME exams.
Yeah, that's been big news.
They've ordered the release of results for under-16s and plan to probe the mass failure.
That's quite an intervention. Shows how much public concern there is. Looking into why so many failed and dealing with the underage candidates specifically, it suggests they see a need for a proper review, maybe reforms, of the whole exam system.
Definitely needed, it seems. We're also seeing political shifts, lawmakers from the PDP and NPP defecting to the APC.
Party switching, increasing the ruling party's majority in the House.
Yeah.
It's a constant feature, isn't it, in Nigerian politics? Always makes you wonder about the motives and what it means for stability.
True. And lots happening in the courts, too.
always.
Updates on the Edo election challenge and Edo LG chairman's impeachment overturned. Ebony Council polls nullification upheld.
Phew. Keeps the lawyers busy.
Doesn't it? Seems like legal challenges are just part of the political furniture.
They are. And these cases show the judiciary's role, right? Resolving disputes, trying to ensure accountability. The different results show how complex it all is.
And speaking of courts, that huge $950 trillion rights suit against Atiku Abubakar dismissed.
Yeah, I saw that. A very definitive outcome. A suit that size getting tossed out suggests the plaintiffs hit a major legal wall.
Indeed. Even within parties, friction. Zik, the Lagos electoral body, apparently wrote to INE about 3 different Labour Party factions in Lagos.
Oh, internal party struggles.
Seems like it. Potential power squabbles.
Yeah, points to maybe leadership disputes or just different ideas within the Lagos Labour Party could affect how organized they are for future elections there.
Possibly. On a more positive judicial note, watchdog groups apparently think the NJC reforms are helping restore trust in the judiciary.
That would be very welcome.
Wouldn't it?
Improving public confidence in the courts is so fundamental. Rule of law, good governance. If the reforms are genuinely boosting transparency, accountability, that's a big step.
Let's hope it continues. Circling back to the UTME mess, Peter Obi, Ezekwesili, other prominent figures are weighing in.
Adding their voices to the concerns about glitches.
Yeah, really highlighting the widespread anxiety about the whole process.
Having names like that involved definitely amplifies the concern, puts more pressure on JNAB to investigate properly, sort out any issues.
Now, despite those defections we mentioned earlier, the APC says they don't want Nigeria to become a one-party state.
Interesting statement, given the context. Right. Probably trying to manage perceptions, maybe. Address worries about one party getting too dominant. Projecting a commitment to multi-party democracy, even while their numbers grow.
Could be. Internal party stuff also happening in Delta APC. Reports of a leadership tussle between the deputy governor's camp and someone named Nuwako.
Ah, typical internal competition. Maneuvering for influence. Happens all the time within parties, especially at state level. Can sometimes affect party unity, though.
True. Moving to state governance, Governor Bago in Niger State reportedly released funds to the wards.
Okay, direct funding to the local level.
Yeah.
Suggests an effort maybe to empower local communities, address their specific needs. The real impact, of course, depends on how well that money's actually used on the ground.
Always the key question. Ono State Assembly received the 2025 budget proposal for oil-producing areas.
Specific funding for those regions.
Highlights that dedicated planning.
Yeah, acknowledges their unique needs, the environmental impacts maybe, allows for targeted spending on infrastructure development there.
Makes sense. In Lagos, a ban on night construction to try and stop building collapses.
A direct response to a very serious problem.
Seemed like it.
It shows the state government trying to be proactive, address those tragic collapses. Banning night work probably aims for better oversight. Stricter safety checks.
Hopefully it helps. Oyo State approved significant funding for a circular road project.
Big infrastructure investment at the state level. Yeah. These large projects can really boost the economy, improve transport, connectivity, trade.
Bauchi State is supporting families of vigilantes killed fighting bandits, approving funds for them.
That's important recognition.
Isn't it?
Provides much-needed support to those families, acknowledges the huge risks those vigilante groups often take at the community level.
Definitely. We also saw reports of a disagreement between a federal minister and Governor Bala Mohammed of Bauchi.
Political friction, not uncommon.
No.
Can sometimes make policy implementation tricky, though. Different political interests clashing.
Yeah. And speaking of policy, a federal minister apparently told the National Assembly, don't create more schools, fund the existing ones better.
Clear policy stance there. Reflects that debate, right? Quality over quantity. Enhance what we have versus just expand. It's a strategic choice about where to put the education money.
Indeed. And finally, under politics. Students at a polytechnic in the North Central region are complaining about campus insecurity.
Oh, dear. A very specific local worry.
But with wider implications.
Absolutely. Directly impacts their safety, their ability to learn, underscores that ongoing need for better security on campuses across the country.
Right, let's shift focus to social issues and security now. Always a lot going on here.
Always.
Niger State approved 6 months maternity leave for women. That's quite a significant move.
It really is. Very progressive, potential positive impact on gender equality at work, mother and child health. Sets a great benchmark, really.
Agreed. We also saw an influencer arrested for alleged cyberbullying.
Reflects that growing awareness, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Legal consequences for online behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Highlights the focus on accountability online and the real harm cyberbullying does. A reminder, there are boundaries.
Definitely. Internationally, 10 Thai sailors convicted for drug trafficking. Big fine.
Underscores that global fight against organized crime, drug trade.
Yeah.
Shows how transnational it is. And the serious penalties involved. Using a vessel points to the methods, too.
On national security, reports of the military dislodging terrorists in Sambisa,
Good news there.
but also the chief of defense staff saying recent terror attack spikes are temporary.
A mixed picture then.
Yeah.
Encouraging to hear about military gains, reclaiming territory. But the assurance about attacks being temporary suggests the underlying problems are still there. Needs continued effort, full strategy.
Right. The Accountant General's Office, the OAGF, plans to tackle irregular payments in constituency projects.
Accountability focus. That's significant.
Seems like it.
Tries to address those long-running worries about potential corruption, mismanagement of funds meant for local communities.
Nigeria's envoy in Turkey is seeking funds for a new embassy building in Ankara.
Diplomatic infrastructure.
Yeah.
Important for maintaining that international presence, advancing Nigeria's interests abroad. Proper facilities are part of that.
Tragically, Lassa fever has killed a significant number of people, NCDC deploying emergency teams.
That's a serious public health crisis.
It is.
The high death toll just highlights how critical strong surveillance, rapid response, and effective prevention are for infectious diseases.
Absolutely. In potentially very good news, the FG plans fully subsidized healthcare for vulnerable Nigerians.
Wow, that could be huge.
Couldn't it? A major social welfare move.
Potentially transformative, yes. If it's implemented well, funded properly.
Yeah.
Could massively improve healthcare access for those who need it most.
Let's hope so. The FG is also prioritizing emergency repairs on the Benin-Sapele Road.
Tackling critical infrastructure. That road's vital.
Right. Poor condition really impacts transport commerce.
Exactly. Fixing key routes like that is crucial for moving goods, people. Supports the economy. Necessary step.
The minister cleared NLFRND, the student loan fund, of alleged fraud.
Okay, addressing those concerns, important for public trust.
Yeah. Need confidence in that program.
Absolutely. Need people to believe it's working properly, fairly.
The NYSC Director General warned core members about negative online content.
Managing the scheme's image.
Seems like it. Responsibilities of participants.
Yeah. Likely encouraging them to be mindful online, uphold the NYSC's values during their service year.
Makes sense. NEMA, the emergency agency, is urging states to prepare for floods. Rainy season approaching.
Crucial advice. Disaster preparedness.
Yeah.
Being proactive is key to minimizing damage from floods. Early warnings, community plans, vital stuff.
Residents at the National Defense Academy, NDA, are getting power from a new REA project.
Tangible benefit. Direct impact of infrastructure development.
Yeah.
Reliable power is fundamental for places like the NDA. Supports everything they do. Good to see.
The Consumer Protection Agency, FCCPC, sealed a fake consumer protection office.
Protecting consumers from scams. Good move.
Yeah.
Important to stop people being misled. Ensure legitimate help channels aren't undermined by fakes.
Positive news from a university in the Northeast. Got NUC accreditation for several programs.
Excellent. Progress in higher education there despite the challenges. NUC accreditation is that quality benchmark. So it's a really positive sign for students in the region.
But contrastingly, the rector of Austin State Poly is appealing for a contract staff confirmation, highlighting funding issues.
The persistent problems.
Yeah. Job security worries for staff, plus the ongoing money struggles many institutions face, affects quality.
It's a common story,
On
unfortunately.
a brighter note for specific places, academic activities resumed at KA Thier Kaduna State University.
Good. Return to normalcy for students and staff.
Welcome news. The Lecturers Union at Colleges of Education, KEAU, also weighed in on the UTME results, urging JAM to review them.
Adding their voice to the chorus.
Yeah.
More pressure on Jamie.
Yeah, underlines the widespread concern.
Definitely. Highlights the need for JNA to be transparent, effective in addressing it.
The Student Association, NNS, backed the new ASU president.
Okay, solidarity between students and university lecturers' leadership.
Seems so.
NANA's support can give the new ASU leader some backing as they tackle challenges, advocate for lecturers.
We're also seeing philanthropic efforts. The Dare Attaboy Foundation awarded scholarships.
Fantastic. Crucial support for education.
Yeah, initiatives like that really help expand access.
Vital role.
And the Bet Ninja Foundation is helping communities. Boreholes for water, other projects.
More private sector social development. Good to see.
Yeah.
Shows how companies can contribute, improve living conditions, address basic needs.
The Lagos motorcycle ban, still having economic fallout. Reports of manufacturers losing market share.
The unintended consequences.
Yeah. Highlights that policy trade-off.
Exactly. The ban might aim to fix certain problems, but you have to consider the ripple effects on businesses, jobs.
Looking back at Boko Haram, Atiku Abubakar apparently blamed presidents after Obasanjo for its growth.
Introducing a historical perspective or interpretation
offers
offers one view on how the crisis escalated, probably sparks more debate about the root causes.
Likely. Worrying security incident, Ondo APC chairman abducted, ransom bearers reportedly tied up too.
That's deeply concerning. Kidnapping for ransom.
Yeah, and targeting the ransom delivers too.
Highlights the dangers, even for prominent figures. Very worrying trend if the bearers are also targeted.
Interestingly, a UK-based professor reportedly cautioned against castigating Tinubu over past drug allegations.
Offering a different viewpoint on a sensitive topic
Yeah.
suggests there are various perspectives to consider when discussing these things about political leaders.
Insecurity in Ekiti led to demands for more police.
Local response to safety concerns highlights the need for adequate security presence to tackle local crime, keep residents safe.
Prison overcrowding. Still a big issue. Ogun chief judge ordered some inmates released.
A direct measure to ease the pressure.
Yeah.
Shows the strain on the system. Using judicial powers to address overcrowding, which impacts conditions, rehabilitation.
We mentioned the Oyo Circular Road earlier, but worth noting again as a major infrastructure investment.
Yes, big projects like that have wide impacts. Economy, transport, quality of life.
Ogun government denied any deaths from eating rice there, addressing a public rumor.
Important function. Countering misinformation, preventing panic.
Street begging in Anambra, apparently still thriving despite a ban.
Highlights the difficulty, right?
Yeah.
Hard to enforce bans without tackling the root causes. Poverty, lack of opportunity. Needs broader solutions.
Kaduna is partnering with foreign investors in metals and minerals.
Strategic move for economic development. Attract investment, develop resources.
Yeah, bring in capital, expertise, tech, create jobs.
The potential.
Positive public health news. Ekiti girls vaccinated against cervical cancer.
Excellent. Crucial preventative health care.
Vital for long-term health.
Absolutely.
Sadly, violence forced schools to close in Kwara.
Terrible impact of insecurity on education.
Yeah.
Safety of students, teachers.
Yeah. Major disruption. Urgent need for safe learning environments.
Definitely.
The annual Hajj airlift from Lagos started?
Major logistical operation.
Yeah.
Facilitating the pilgrimage.
Yeah, requires huge planning.
Significant religious event for many.
Lagos also unveiled Marine and Forest Guards under its neighborhood safety agency.
Enhancing local security. Specialized units.
Yeah, aiming to improve response in those specific environments.
Makes sense.
A windstorm crippled Gombe's water supply. Repairs ongoing.
Shows infrastructure vulnerability to weather.
Need for resilience, quick response to restore essential services.
Always.
Tragically, a fire at Ifoko Ijaya General Hospital in Lagos.
Oh no. Serious incident. Huge impact on healthcare there.
Definitely. Highlights the need for top-notch fire safety in hospitals.
Absolutely critical.
Coronation events started for a new traditional ruler somewhere.
Important cultural event.
Yeah.
Celebrating tradition, leadership.
Yeah, significant role in many communities. Ex-militants in Ondo protested exclusion from the amnesty program.
Raising issues of inclusion, past agreements, Niger Delta peace context.
Yeah.
Highlights the complexities of these programs. Need to address grievances, reintegration needs for lasting stability.
Cross-river communities demanded action over a dangerous waterway. Environmental safety concerns.
Important local issue. Waterway safety is vital for livelihoods, environment.
Arrest reported of a bandit's petrol supplier.
Disrupting their logistics. Key strategy.
Hitting the support networks.
Yeah.
Police in Borno have people in custody for possessing explosives. Separate arrest in Adamawa for alleged sodomy.
Specific criminal cases being handled. Shows the range of law enforcement work.
And a deeply concerning arrest. Individuals allegedly selling a baby.
Terrible. Child trafficking.
Yeah.
Serious crime.
Awful. Arrests crucial for protecting kids. Justice.
Absolutely.
Finally, on a much nicer note, a tricycle donated to a physically challenged pupil.
Heartwarming story. Community support, inclusion.
Yeah.
Small acts of kindness making a big difference. Lovely.
Right. Before we wrap this deep dive up, let's touch on those did you know facts we had. Some fascinating bits.
Look, interesting.
Like Morse code, invented back in the 1830s, changed everything, letting messages fly across telegraph lines.
Revolutionary, really. Hard to imagine communication before that instant messaging.
And that first message Samuel Morse sent, "What hath God wrought?" Quite profound.
Makes you think, doesn't it? The impact of that invention.
We also learned taurophobia is the fear of bulls.
Right. An unusual one. Reminds you how varied phobias can be.
And on this exact date, May 16th, but in 1975, Junko Tabei became the first woman ever to summit Mount Everest.
Incredible achievement. Human endurance, breaking barriers. Just amazing.
Truly. Go back further, 1929, also May 16th, the very first Academy Awards ceremony.
Wow. From that small start to the global thing it is today.
Amazing evolution, isn't it?
Really shows how culture grows, embeds itself.
And finally, that lovely Fred Rogers quote, "The greatest gift you ever give is your honest self."
Simple, but powerful. About authenticity.
Yeah. Good reminder.
A nice thought to reflect on. Being true to yourself.
So, looking back at this whole snapshot of Nigerian news from just one day, several themes really pop out, don't they?
Definitely.
The economy's complexities, national figures versus those stark regional differences.
Politics, dynamic as ever, debates, court cases, party shifts.
The ongoing efforts against serious security challenges, side by side with those important social initiatives, healthcare, education support.
And woven through it all, those little glimpses of history, culture, community kindness.
What's really striking, I think, is how interconnected it all is.
Totally. Economic policy impacts society, security affects politics. It's all linked.
Yeah, each headline we talked about is just like a window onto a much bigger story, right?
Yeah, exactly. These are ongoing narratives.
So this deep dive, it's just a brief look at one day in a really complex, really dynamic country. Considering everything we've touched on, the economy swinging, the political moves, those crucial social policies, the security issues that just won't go away, what do you, listening, think is the most pressing issue facing Nigeria right now, and maybe why?
Yeah, it really makes you think about how all these different pieces fit together.